Hello and welcome back to Blender Tutorials for You. My name's Jeff and we are going to be making this kitchen scene today. So let's hop into it. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit A to select everything, X, and I'm going to hit delete. Let's hit Shift A and we're going to create a mesh. And with this mesh we're going to make a cube. So we're going to be starting off with the cabinetry area. So just by looking at this cube, I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to hit 3 to grab this face here. And then I'm just going to grab along the X to move it outwards. Probably right about there. I think that looks pretty good. And then let's go ahead. We're just going to add a loop cut. So Control R for a loop cut. I'm going to grab this face right here by hitting 3 on our number pad, by hitting 3 on our keyboard. And we're just going to extrude this along the Y to about there. So now I'm going to add in a couple more loop cuts here. I'm going to add in 2 of them. And I'm going to be placing them, well, I'm just going to right click and have it drop right in the center there. Now let's go to face view and let's grab the face. We're just going to hit I to inset a little bit, only a little bit. From here I'm just going to add another loop cut. Just going to move it over a little tiny bit, and this will be just enough so that it's like a divider between the two sinks. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 3 to grab the face, and I'm going to shift click to grab that face, and we're just going to extrude that along the Z, bring it down, have it a little deep, about there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start grabbing these edges by Shift and Alt. And now I'm going to bevel it by hitting Control B, and we're just going to bevel it out a little bit to add a little roundness to that. Let's do about 4. And we're going to not do the same to the back, but we're just going to be grabbing these edges, and we're just going to be grabbing them along the Y and just bringing it out for a little bit. And we're just going to be extruding this along the Y, just to add a little bit more space to our counter. All right, let's go ahead and add some cabinets to this. So I'm just going to Control R right here, and I'm going to put this, well, let's have 3 cabinets, eh? So Control R there, and right there in the center is good. So now with my edge tool selected, I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to go Control B. I'm going to bring it out, but I'm going to have none just to release it a little bit. Okay, so with opening it up like that, instead of adding the beveled curves, what we can do is hit E and bring it in a little bit, like so. And then we hit X and face, and that leaves a little cut. And we're going to do the same thing over here, and we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to hit Control B. We're just going to bring it out a little bit. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than our other one was. We're going to extrude inwards, just like so. Hit X and face. So now it looks like 3 separate cabinets. Now we're going to add a Control R onto this one, and we're just going to bring it up to right about there. So you know on how they usually have like a pull down where you can just like stick like sponges into and whatever, or usually it's just for decoration too, right? So, and what we're going to be doing here now is we're going to be grabbing this edge and this edge, and we're going to scale it along the Z as well to bring it in. Because when we have that face selected, we're going to extrude it back, and then we are going to be deleting the face. Now let's create like a cutlery drawer. So we're going to Control R to add a loop cut. We're going to place it right in the center. With your edge tool selected, we're going to come down to this edge right here, right beside our sink, and we're going to do our same thing. We're going to go Control B, going to pull it out a little bit. I'm going to hit E to extrude it in, and then X to delete the face. And so there, I just dropped it in there. Now we're going to hit Control R, and we're going to go sideways. And we're just going to right click to let it go there. I'm going to Control R, and I'm going to create this one a little bit closer. It's going to be more so like a diagonal shaped one, right? So I'm going to hit Control R here again, and we're going to have it end about there. We're going to have like the doorknob around here where you just reach down, pull it open near the top or something, right? And then after that, you can just make a couple more like so, and yeah, that looks good. So here, I'll show you what I mean here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my edges. I'm going to select that edge, this edge. I'm going to select this one, and this one. And then we'll leave the other side for now. So we're going to hit Control B, and we're going to bring that out just a little bit. E, bring that inwards just a little bit. X, and delete the faces. So now we have separates. Now I'm going to be grabbing this edge here, and we're going to grab these, and we're going to do the same thing. Control B to bevel, bring it out a very small amount. E to extrude, inwards, delete. Hit X, delete the faces. So now we have a very basic looking countertop. So now let's go ahead and just rename this. It can just be counter. And we are going to start making the handles. So back to object mode, make sure nothing is selected, and hit Shift A, mesh, and we're going to make a circle. With this circle, the vertices, let's go down to 6. So this does not have to be specific in any way. Just make it according to the way that you wish. I am just going to be shrinking it down because it's going to be the size of a handle. Tab into edit mode, going to extrude along the Z. And I'm actually going to bring it quite a far ways out, just like so. And I'm going to face that off, and I'm going to grab these down here and face that off. I'm going to Control R, and I'm going to create tiny little handle pieces to be coming out the bottom. So now I'm just going to grab these faces down here, and I'm just going to extrude them out. So now with this circle, we can rename this to a handle, and we can give it a material now. So new material, we are going to set this to a very silverish. I'm going to bring the metallic up to about a 0.5, and we're going to reduce the roughness to about a 0.1. And then add some reflection on. No, you know what? Let's do roughness 0.2. Just make it a little bit more or less reflective. There you go. You can rename your material if you want. And now let's start putting our handles on our doors. So now we're going to set the origin to the center of the mass. And we're just going to start bringing these in towards our object here. So we're just going to grab this. We're going to go to top view. You can rotate this a bit so that when we grab it along the Y, grab along the Y, bring it in, and let's see how this looks. Still a little high, but that's okay. We're just going to grab along the Y and along the X, and we're going to go to front view and just bring it down. I think maybe we're about there. Right, so Shift D, X, same spot, Shift D, X, and you know what, let's have this one opening up on this side. Like so, perfect. So now we're going to do the same one to these other ones, because usually underneath you can like open it, right? So Shift D, X, pretty close to it, and then Shift D, X, just right across from it, the same thing. And now we're going to do these three over here, so Shift D, X, I'm going to move it over here, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees, and bring this one up a little bit. Let's make sure it's straight, like so. Okay, so I forgot to cut these so that these can open out. So I'm going to hit Edge, Select, and I'm going to grab these 4. And again, we're just going to hit Control B, bring it out only a little bit, and then we're going to E to extrude, bring it in a little bit, X, delete the faces. So now when I'm here, now you can see that it's a little bit more cut through. So Shift D, Z, bring that down there, Shift D, Z, and bring that down there. Well, let's have this a little bit more of the center. Same with this one, a little bit more towards the center. This will be like an empty spot, or you could put a dishwasher there if you wanted to. And just going to Shift D, let's grab it, move it over here, and let's rotate it 90. And I want this door handle more so right about there. Kind of to like have a door handle just to like grab it and open it from the corner. And now we're just going to finish up our other three on this side. So I'm just going to 1, 2, 3. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate. I'm just going to bring it along the Y. I'm going to bring it over here. We're going to rotate it on the Z 90 degrees. And then we're just going to grab this on the X, move it forward, somewhere to about there, grab it on the Y, move it over. And there you have it. There you go, perfect. Now we have our little handles for all of our cabinets. Now let's make a faucet. So in object mode with nothing selected, Shift A, Mesh, Circle. And again, we'll stick with the 6 vertices. And then when we have our circle, let's work on it from up here. So we're going to scale this down. We're going to tab into edit mode. We're going to hit E to extrude on the Z, and we're going to bring it up. I'm going to select it all, and I'm actually just going to shrink it on everything except the Z. I'm going to add a loop cut down over here, add another loop cut down below, and I'm just going to scale this part out along with the bottom faces here. I'm just going to scale that out a little bit more, just to add a little bit extra detail to it. I'm going to grab these up here, and I'm going to be placing my cursor right about there. With our edges selected and our cursor there, we can go to our spin, and we are just going to spin it over until it's flat, like a candy cane. And then I'm just going to extrude it a little bit, and I'm going to grab these faces. I'm going to extrude and scale out a bit, just to kind of give it that like extra piece there. Turn off X-frame mode and just take a look at this. There you go. That doesn't look too bad. You know what? I might make this neck a little shorter. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll make it about that length. That looks really nice. Now I'm just going to set the origin to the center of it. And now we can plop this down in our scene over here. So from top view, just grab it on the X, grab it on the Y, and then we're just going to rotate 180 degrees. And then from front view, just grab it along the Z, and grab it along the X. Just kind of move it right in between these two sync areas. Seems like I've lost a face there. That's very bizarre. And this, I'm just going to move it up just a little bit, and I'm going to bring it forward. And I'm just going to be grabbing these faces on the inside here. I'm going to be grabbing that along the Z, just kind of moving it up. And then grab this along the Z. Okay, I think that's looking really nice. Alright, let's go ahead and let's add our floor now. So we're just going to Control A to a plane. And we're just going to scale that up. We're going to move it down to the bottom of our mesh. Grab this on the X, move it back, and we'll grab this and bring it a little bit forward till it's at the back of our mesh here. I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to grab these two edges, and I'm just going to extrude it towards the ceiling. So next here, let's just add some marble material to these faces on the countertop here. So we're going to start by opening up a side over here. We're going to go into our shader editor. Going to close that. So let's create a new material. So we're going to go ahead and add in a mix color. Let's pop it right here. And we'll connect the result to the base color of the Principled BSDF. And now we're going to make a color ramp. So grab a color ramp converter. We're just going to color to A. And now we're going to add a little bit more texture to it by getting a Voronoi texture. And we're going to connect the distance to the factor. And I'm just going to come over to our mix converter. We're going to Shift D to duplicate it. And we're going to connect that to the vector. Let's bring these all in a little closer. Next, we're going to get a noise texture. And we're going to connect the factor into B. And now we are just going to go to our preferences. We're going to go to our add-ons, and we're going to enable Node Wrangler. When you have your noise texture selected, you're going to hit Ctrl-T to bring out the texture coordinate and mapping. We're going to connect the mapping into the A factor. We are going to be creating another color ramp. So another color ramp here. And let's connect that to the B slot of your first mix. And then we're going to connect another noise texture. So noise texture from factor to factor. And we're just going to connect our vector to vector. I'm just going to grab these two here, and I'm going to Shift D and duplicate and move them up. So now I'm going to take my vector, plug it into the top vector, and this color of this color ramp is now going to be the factor of our marble. So over here in this noise texture, let's just turn the scale up to 10, and let's move the detail to 8. And Voronoi, let's change that. Let's change. And over here on our mix, let's see what happens here. You know what? Let's actually change that. Let's change the mix to a linear light. And that looks a little bit better. And I think in this one, we're going to switch this to 40. Switch this to distance to an edge. Let's see our scale. Let's go down to 3, and we'll set our detail to 2. And let's move on to our color ramp here. Let's change the color. And let's see how this will look. It's getting... There you go. Yeah, let's move it really close to it. Let's can use a little bit more work on this. Go to our noise texture down here. Scale this up. You know what? Yeah, somewhere around there. We'll bring our detail up to full detail. And we'll use a little bit of distortion. Let's go like 0.4. So let's kind of do the same thing here. Let's turn this black color to more of a darker gray. And let's bring this in. I think that looks good. This color ramp, and let's move the black in around there. And let's move the white in to get rid of some of that black to make it more like spotches. I think around there looks good. And let's see here. Let's just fool around with these settings a little bit. And let's bring the roughness down to have it just like a little bit more shinier. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, see, that has a very nice reflection on it. So now all we're going to do now is that we don't want everything to be marble, obviously. So I'm just going to make sure I have my face selected. And I'm just going to select all these faces. And just make sure that you have your front faces selected. And with that, I'm going to actually rename this material here to marble. And I'm going to create a new material. And we can leave this as white. And we're going to go ahead and assign it to these. Oh, actually, I do want these end faces as well. And we're going to assign. So now when we look, okay, you did not assign to white there. So now when we look, we have a marble countertop and a bunch of white cabinets. These faces on the inside, I'm going to select these, and we're going to make this probably more so black. Actually, we're going to make this like a stainless steel color. So we're going to go to New, and this will be our silver. Just going to make this silver. We're going to hit Assign. And with this, we're just going to attach silver to that as well. And so far, that is looking pretty good. Alright, now let's start building a couple cabinets on the wall. So without anything selected, we're just going to go to Shift A, Mesh, and Cube. Let's grab this along the Z and bring it up along the wall here. We can bring it in towards the wall too. And we're just going to actually scale it on the Y, make it a little thinner. And grab it on the Y, bring it in. Now we're going to scale it on the Z, make it a little bit higher up, just like so. And I think that looks mighty fine. So let's just go ahead and Shift D, X, and we're going to move it in, not so much that it's touching, but just enough that there's a little bit of space beside it. Let's add one more, hey? Shift D, X, and bring it close. Nice. Let's do that on the other side. So we're just going to copy these three, Shift D, X, and move it towards the end of the wall here. Now we can do the same thing with our handles. So let's take a handle here. We'll Shift D, Z, move it up. I'm going to go to first view here. I'm going to grab along the X and grab it along the Z. And let's go to third, and we're just going to move it in. Grab Y and bring it in about there. Now let's see here. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to go to 7. We're going to Shift D, X. We'll bring it in over here. Shift D, X. And we'll bring the last one in over here. So again, we can click all those. And we're going to move it to the other side. So Shift D, X, and same place. Let's move it up a little bit. There you go. I think these ones would have to be moved up as well. So with these selected, we're going to duplicate them. So we're going to go Shift D. We're going to rotate them on the Z 90 degrees. And we'll move this back. And then grab them on the X and bring them right up to the wall. Bring them in a little closer. It's a thin wall, so. And there you have cabinets. Space to open your cabinet there. That's good. All right, perfect. So now we will be creating a window. So with nothing selected in object mode, we're going to hit Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. And with our cylinder, we're going to go down to our vertices here. We're just going to change these to 4. We're going to grab this along the Z. I'm just going to take a look at this a little bit more. Let's rotate this on the Z 45 degrees. And we're just going to scale this down. So let's make our window. I'm just going to move this over to about here. I'm going to have it come all the way up and around and then through the centers, kind of like a 4-piece window. Or we can do an arc window. You know what? Let's do an arc window. So I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to grab this top face here and I'm going to grab it along the Z. I'm going to move it up just over about 3/4 of the way. Now I'm going to select my cursor. I'm going to place my cursor in the center-ish. So now I have my cursor there, but with my top face selected, I'm going to go to my spin tool. And we are going to spin this on the Y. We're going to go halfway across. Now, I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to grab these along the Z and bring it down. I'm going to add a loop cut on both sides, and then I'm just going to be grabbing, nope, not that face, this face, and this face. I'm just going to face them. So all I did was I hit F, and that just kind of connected them. There we have our little arc. So let's put this into place now. Grab onto the Z axis and let's bring it down. Now let's go to side view and let's bring it on the Y. And let's focus it and see how this looks. It's nicely done there, I think. I think these, I'm going to bring down a little bit more, so leave it a little bit more of a window. Or actually, you know what, just grab this on the Z. Let's bring this down to about there and I gotta reset my origin. And I'm just going to scale it on the Z, make it a little bit bigger. And now we're just going to add our little window in there. So I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode. I'm going to select this plane. And we're going to add a modifier. And the modifier is going to be the Boolean modifier. And then with the Boolean modifier, we're just going to click this eyedropper here, and we're just going to click on the cylinder, and that will open up a window for our window there. Now, if you want, we can add a glass to this. So with nothing selected, we're going to do Shift A, Mesh Plane. I'm going to bring it down to us. Just going to rotate this along the X by 90 degrees. And I'm just going to make sure that it's inside there nice and tight. So grab on the Y, and now let's just scale this on the X, bring it up, and scale it on the, on the Z and the X. So you could have done Shift Y. So anyways, for this material, we're going to give this a new material. We are going to give this a glass material. So we're just going to open up a new window here. We're going to go into Shader Editor. I'm going to close that with N. We're going to click the principal, and we're going to hit Delete. We're actually going to connect the surface to a glass BSDF. We are also going to need a refraction shader. So search refraction, and you always use it with glass. And now we're going to add a mix shader to this. So we're going to have Shift Control right click and connect it to the other release. And now with this mix shader, we're going to connect it to a Fresnel factor. And we're going to change the IOR. Actually, we're going to leave it as a 1.5. This IOR on the refraction, we're going to put that up to a 1.5. And we're going to make sure that the roughness is both set to 0. So we're going to scoot on over to our view here, and I'm going to add some light quick. So Shift A, light, we're just going to do a sun. And I'm just going to switch this over to cycles, just to see if we can see outside. And that looks good. I'm just going to edit this, and I'm going to add in a loop cut on the top here. And I'm just going to grab these bottom here and move those up so it's inside the mesh. I'm going to grab this one and bring it in. Same with this, bring it in. And it looks like those two side ones popped out, so I'm just going to pop this in up here and grab this, pull it out a little bit, just to get more of the right shape of it. And that looks pretty good. And yeah, that is the end of that. So let's just take this, close that window, and that's that one. Let's actually give this a material. So we'll just do a normal base color material. I think maybe a nice black would do good for this. Let's see how that looks. Let's grab one of these and let's add a material. We're actually just going to go with a very basic white, full roughness. We're actually just going to bring the white color down a little bit so that it's a different color. We're just going to start selecting all these, 2, 3, and then I'm going to click my last one last. I'm going to hit Control L. I'm going to say Link Materials. So now everything has your material that was on it. You can do the same thing to the doors down here. Oh, that'd be for faces. So now we're going to put an island in the middle here. So we're going to go Shift A, Mesh Cube, and we'll move this over towards where we are going to be wanting it. So that's actually too high up. Yeah, and I want this more in the center here and a little bit more forward. Maybe right about there. Give us some space to move around, right? So now I'm going to scale along the X and just make it the size of an island and grab it and move it over. And then we're going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to grab this face. I'm going to extrude, but scale. I'm going to scale it out a little bit. Now we're going to extrude on the Z just a little bit, and that will be the end of that. Let's bevel out these edges. So I'm going to Control B, bevel it out a little bit. And for this top face, we're just going to select, and with all these still selected, you're going to Shift click the top face, and we're going to give those a material. So the material is going to be marble. Okay, we'll leave it all as marble. We'll come back, we'll select these faces here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we will add another one, and we will have that as our white. And hit assign. You know what, let's add a couple stools over here. So in object mode, Shift A, mesh. I'm going to work with a cube for the cushion part. So I'm going to grab it and move it over here. I'm going to scale it along the Z. I'm going to tab into edit mode, Control B to bevel it, and we're just going to round it out a bit, like so. Basically, I just beveled it into a circle. Now when you look at it, it looks like an actual cushion. So now I'm going to attach the 4 bar stool legs to it. While in edit mode, I'm going to click off, Shift A, and we're going to bring in a cylinder. Let's bring the vertices up to about 16, and we're going to grab this along the Y and bring it over to where our mesh is. And now let's scale it down. I'm going to grab this, move it over, grab it on the Z. Let's go to first view, and let's just make sure it's in one good position. Okay, now we're just going to scale it along the Z. I'm going to grab it, bring it down. We're going to give it a slight rotation and just reposition. Now on top view, I'm just going to Shift D, X, move it over, Shift D, Y, move it up. I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. I'm going to grab on the Y, bring it out a little bit. I'm going to Shift D on the X and bring it over like so. Now with this part selected, I just hit L when I hovered over it. I'm going to grab it on the Z, bring it down so that those are more so inside. And I'm going to see how this actually looks. Let's turn off X-ray so you can see on some parts here, such as this. I'm just going to grab that on the Y, bring it in, and same with the other one. Grab that on the Y, bring it in. Now I'm going to hit A to control to see all. And actually, I'm going to bring these faces down a little bit more first. So I'm going to select these 3 faces. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to bring them up GZ just to bring them up a little bit. And I'm going to come back out of mode here. I'm going to hit A, going to hit Control J, and that will make you your stool. So let's go ahead and just shrink this down a bit. And we'll grab this along the X, grab it along the Y, just kind of bring it in. And we're just going to bring it down. I'm going to say right about here, we're going to scale it on the X or on the Z. Now grab it on the Z. Bring it down right about to there. And let's just go ahead and give this some material. So usually for a cushion, it could be black. So we're going to assign this as black. And we'll bring in another material, which will be the silver. And then these ones, that's going to be silver. That's going to be silver. That's going to be silver. And that's going to be silver. So now in our material preview, you have your own little stool. So on top view, let's grab this along the Y and bring it in just a little bit. Grab it on the X, move it over, and let's Shift D on the X. One in the middle, Shift D on the X, one on the end. And now just move it around, make it look like 3 nice stools. That looks great. I love it. That looks really nice. I think if we grab these faces here, and if we make those not white, but if we made them black, I wonder how that would look. Very interesting. Yeah, you know what? I'm going with it. I like it. Let's just go ahead and add a material here. We're just going to create a new material. We're just going to make it like a very light blue. Very, very light blue like that. Just to add some extra color in there so it's not so white. Let's tab into edit mode here. We're just going to tab in. We're going to delete this one here. So I'm going to delete that and the handle. And we're going to tab into edit mode here. I'm just going to grab these edges. 1, 2. I'm going to grab them along the X and move them in. And we're going to grab these top edges. No. We're going to actually grab the faces. So 1, 2. We're going to extrude it out a bit, like so. Now we have to fix this. I have to extrude that out. So in top view. So with this selected, I'm just going to scale it out a little bit, just so it's past the wall here. So I'm just going to tab into edit mode, scale along the Y, just bring it out, and then I'm going to grab it along the Y and bring it out a little bit, just like that. And then that would mean this here too would have to be extruded along the Y, just so that it's popped out a little bit. All right, now that's that done. And that concludes today's tutorial on making a kitchen scene. Thank you for joining and have a great day. See you in my next video.